All right, get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into some Korean folklore.
Sounds fun.
We're going to be talking about Dokkaebi. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, I think so.
They're like sort of like goblins, but they're way more complex than that.
Okay, cool.
And to help us learn all about them, we've got two sources.
Okay.
First, we got this Wikipedia article, just gives us like the basic rundown of Dokkaebi. And then we've also got this YouTube video with a really cool folktale that I think is going to bring them to life a little bit more.
Perfect.
So where should we start? What do you think? How about with the basics? Like, what exactly are these Dokkaebi things?
Yeah, good place to start. So, from what I understand, they're often described as these nature deities or spirits.
Right.
With like supernatural powers.
Yeah, that's what I was reading too. It says here, they've got supernatural powers, and it says they're a little bit mischievous. They like to play tricks on humans.
Mm-hmm. But they also have this helpful side too, right?
Yeah, they're not all bad.
No, not at all.
That's one of the things that makes them so interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like a really fascinating duality that they've got going on. But one thing that's really important is that they're not ghosts.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Like in Korean folklore, you've got Gwishin, right?
Yeah, Gwishin, those are the spirits of the dead.
Exactly. Gwishin are all about, human souls and stuff.
Right.
Dokkaebi are something totally different.
So where do they come from then?
Objects.
Objects?
Yeah. Like, think about an old tool that's been used for, like, centuries or something.
Okay.
Or, like, maybe an object that's stained with blood. The idea is that they absorb energy over time.
Oh.
And then, like, eventually they can actually develop a spirit of their own.
And then that spirit becomes a Dokkaebi.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's pretty wild when you think about it, right? Like, it makes you look at all the stuff around you a little differently.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So if they come from objects, how long have they been part of Korean stories and stuff?
Oh, centuries. Yeah. I mean, the Wikipedia article mentions this tale called Lady Doa and Bachelor by Hyung. And apparently that's, like, from the Silla era.
That's pretty old.
Oh, yeah, super old. Like, one of the oldest documented stories to actually feature Dokkaebi.
Yeah.
So it's pretty clear that they've got deep roots in Korean culture.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so they're old, but what do they look like? Are we talking like cute little sprites or something a little more, I don't know, scary?
Probably more on the scary side.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You ever seen those ancient Korean roof tiles?
I think so, yeah.
They've got those Dokkaebi faces on them. That'll give you a pretty good idea.
Oh, right, yeah. They're looking kind of fierce on those roof tiles, aren't they?
Yeah. Most depictions of them are pretty intense, I'd say.
Okay, so not exactly something you'd want to run into in a dark alley.
Probably not, but, they're not all about scaring people.
Right, yeah. We were talking about that duality before.
Exactly, like they're known for their tricks. The Wikipedia article says they challenge travelers to wrestling matches sometimes, just for fun. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's classic trickster behavior. But they can also bring good fortune to people.
Oh, okay.
Good harvests, protection from evil spirits. So it's a real mixed bag with these guys.
Wow, you really wouldn't know what to expect if you bumped into one, would you? Well, speaking of bumping into one, the Wikipedia article also mentions something called Dokkaebi fire.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of creepy. Basically, it's like this eerie light that signals their presence.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's described as like tall blue flames.
Ooh, spooky. I don't know if I'd stick around to find out what's causing those flames.
Probably a good idea.
Before I run away, though, I got to ask about the magic stuff. The Wikipedia article was talking about some magical items that are associated with Dokkaebi.
Oh, yeah. Some cool stuff. You've got the Dokkaebi Gam-2, for example.
What's that?
It's an invisibility hat.
You're kidding. That'd be pretty handy.
Right. And then there's the Dokkaebi Bangmongi.
That's a mouthful.
It is. But it's a magic club.
Okay, what's so special about a magic club?
It can summon objects, so like I could just wish for something and it would just appear.
Pretty much. It's like having a supernatural toolbox at your fingertips.
Sign me up.
Right.
But before we go around wishing for magic clubs and stuff, I think it's important to remember that, like, Dokkaebi are part of this really rich folklore tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And beliefs about them can vary a lot depending on where you are.
Oh, totally.
Like the article mentioned Jeju Island, for example. They've got this whole healing ceremony there that's all about driving away Dokkaebi that are thought to cause illness. So in some places, they're seen as more like troublesome. Less about the good fortune and more about the bad stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It just goes to show how complex they really are.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that actually leads us perfectly into that folktale from the YouTube video, right?
Yeah.
The one with the poor farmer and the Dokkaebi.
Oh, yeah. That's a great story.
I'm excited to hear it.
So it starts with this poor farmer who's just trying to make ends meet, really struggling.
Well,
And then one night, he has this encounter with a Dokkaebi.
oh, no. What happens?
Yeah. Well, first things first. There's this particular way you're supposed to address a Dokkaebi.
Really?
You got to call their name twice
Yeah.
and clap twice. It's like a customary greeting.
Oh, okay. So like a sign of respect.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the farmer does that, and then things get interesting.
Okay, I'm hooked. What happens next?
Well, the Dokkaebi asks the farmer for a loan.
A loan from a Dokkaebi. What could he possibly need a loan for?
It gets better. He asks for the farmer's entire day's earnings.
What?
Yeah. It was like 3 cents.
Oh, wow. That's rough. I mean, I can only imagine how little that farmer was making if 3 cents was his whole day's pay.
Yeah, it was all he had.
I wonder what the farmer did. I mean, would you just hand over your hard-earned money to a Dokkaebi?
Well, according to the folktale, the farmer, being a kind soul, actually lends him the money.
He does.
Yeah. And the Dokkaebi promises to repay him the next night.
Hmm. So what happens? Does the Dokkaebi actually keep his word?
He does. The next evening, the Dokkaebi shows up right on time with the 3 cents. Yeah, repays the debt just like he promised. So far, so good, right?
Yeah, except it's a Dokkaebi. I have a feeling this isn't the end of the story.
You got that right. There's definitely a twist coming up.
Okay, hit me with it.
Well, remember how we were talking about Dokkaebi being a little, forgetful?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out this Dokkaebi was a textbook case. He keeps coming back night after night to repay the same 3 cents.
No way. So, like, he just completely forgets he already paid the farmer.
Exactly. It's classic Dokkaebi behavior. And in this case, it actually works out pretty well for the farmer.
Right. Like, suddenly he's making a profit thanks to this forgetful Dokkaebi.
Exactly.
I love that. But wait a minute. I remember reading something in the YouTube video description about magic pots and sticks.
Oh, yeah. That's where things get really interesting. So one day, the Dokkaebi sees that the farmer's cooking pot is all cracked and beat up.
Okay.
And being the generous, albeit forgetful soul that he is, decides to replace it.
Oh, okay.
But he doesn't just bring him any ordinary pot.
I bet this is where the magic comes in.
You know it. He brings the farmer a magic pot.
Whoa, a magic pot. What does it do?
It never runs out of food. No matter how much the farmer eats, the pot always stays full.
Wow. Okay, now that is impressive. That's something I could definitely use.
Right. And guess what?
Yeah.
He brings him more.
More magic pots.
More magic pots, like tons of them. The farmer's house is overflowing with these things, enough to feed, like, his whole community, probably.
Wow, that is incredible. But what about those magic sticks? You mentioned those two, right?
Oh, yeah. Can't forget the magic sticks. Those are all about bringing wealth. So now the farmer's got all this food from the pots, and he's got all this wealth from the sticks.
And he's sharing it with his neighbors.
Exactly. So basically, this whole community starts to thrive, all thanks to this one forgetful Dokkaebi.
That's awesome. It's like a real feel-good story, you know?
Yeah, it is. But hold on. There's one more twist coming up, and it's a bit of a heartbreaker.
Oh, no. What happens?
So one day, the farmer is just going about his business when he hears a voice calling his name. It's the Dokkaebi. But this time, he's not there to bring gifts or repay any debts.
No, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, things take a turn. He shows up crying. And the reason why is pretty sad.
Tell me.
He says he's been summoned by the Goblin King, and he's about to be punished for being broke.
But wait a minute. He's given away so much. All those pots, all those sticks. How could he be broke?
I know, right? It's heartbreaking. The poor guy is so forgetful that he doesn't even remember giving away all that stuff. He genuinely believes he's in trouble for not having any money.
Oh, man.
I know. It's a reminder that even though Dokkaebi are these magical creatures, they're not perfect, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So how does the story end?
Yeah, I'm dying to know.
Well, the farmer, seeing how upset the Dokkaebi is, starts to feel bad for him.
Wow.
And the story ends with the Dokkaebi promising to come back and repay his debt, even though he doesn't actually owe anything.
Oh, that's both sweet and kind of sad at the same time.
Yeah. It's a bittersweet ending, for sure.
It really makes you think, you know. Like, even with all their magical powers, Dokkaebi are still subject to their own limitations.
Definitely. And I think the folktale is really trying to tell us something about actions and consequences.
Oh, how so?
I think it's saying that Even seemingly harmless tricks can have unintended consequences, good and bad.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a good reminder that things aren't always what they seem.
Right.
So what stands out to you most about this whole folktale?
I think it's got to be how it highlights that duality we were talking about earlier. The Dokkaebi is capable of great generosity, right? He gives the farmer all this amazing stuff, but then because of his forgetfulness, he ends up causing himself all this unnecessary stress and worry.
Yeah. It's like he doesn't mean to cause any harm, but it happens anyway.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that we should always try to be mindful of our actions, even when we're just trying to have a little fun.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what else I took away from it? I think it also shows the importance of compassion.
Oh, for sure.
Like, even though the Dokkaebi plays tricks on the farmer, and maybe seems a little clueless at times, the farmer still chooses to be kind to him in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. The folktale really encourages us to look beyond surface appearances and try to understand the complexities of, all beings, human and supernatural.
Totally agree with that. It's a good reminder that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can lead to the most meaningful connections.
Definitely. And it's a reminder that there's still magic and mystery to be found in the world if we just keep our eyes open.
Speaking of keeping our eyes open, the YouTube video also mentions something about how we should actually interact with Dokkaebi if we ever happen to meet one.
Oh, right. What was that about?
Well, it said that if a Dokkaebi ever approaches you asking for money, you should lend it to them.
Interesting. Sounds risky.
Right. But I wonder if there's like a deeper reason behind that advice, like more than just, hey, give this potentially mischievous creature your money.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think.
I mean, in Korean culture, there seems to be this understanding that you should treat Dokkaebi with a certain level of respect.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Even though they have that reputation for being tricksters, there's this sense that you shouldn't mess with them.
So it's not just about avoiding their tricks. It's more about, like, acknowledging their power or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, by lending them money, even a small amount, you're showing that you trust them.
And that you respect them.
Exactly, despite their unpredictable nature.
And maybe by showing them that respect, they'll return the favor.
Right. Like, maybe they'll reward you with good fortune, or at least they won't play any tricks on you.
It's kind of like, I don't know, those traditions where people leave offerings for spirits or deities.
Oh, yeah, that's a good comparison.
Like, it's not necessarily out of fear. It's more about maintaining a harmonious relationship with the supernatural world.
Exactly. It's about showing respect and acknowledging their power.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Dokkaebi, what are some of the key things we've learned about these fascinating creatures?
Well, we've talked about their origins, how they're different from ghosts, that whole thing about coming from objects.
Right, right.
And we've talked about their appearance, how they're often depicted as being pretty fearsome. And of course, we can't forget about that duality.
Yeah, the duality is huge. They can be tricksters and bringers of good fortune all rolled into one.
Exactly. It's what makes them so interesting. And that folktale we just discussed, that really brought it all to life, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It showed us that even in their most mischievous moments, Dokkaebi can still have good intentions.
And it reminded us that even magical creatures have their own limitations.
Absolutely. So, what's the big takeaway here? What do you want our listeners to remember about Dokkaebi?
I think it's that Dokkaebi stories offer us a glimpse into a world where magic and reality are intertwined. A world where the lines between good and bad, helpful and harmful, are often blurred.
And a world where we should always be ready for the unexpected.
Exactly. Dokkaebi remind us that there's still a sense of wonder and mystery to be found in the world if we just know where to look.
So, the next time you hear a strange rustle in the woods, or a voice calling your name twice, followed by 2 claps,
don't be afraid. It might just be a Dokkaebi offering you a chance to experience a little bit of Korean magic.
Then maybe, just maybe, they'll even grant you a wish or 2.
You never know. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the spirit of the Dokkaebi alive.
And keep listening to The Deep Dive.
We'll be back soon with more fascinating creatures and stories from around the world.
See you next time.
Bye.